I'm like, what?
Yeah.
This is beyond what has
Yeah.
been seen on VHS. You just got some trailers, even a deleted scene about how there were Vikings trying to
Yeah.
go for finding Atlantis, and then getting the consequences reaped upon them. I mean, I was like, I'm just is, and then I'm like, well, DVD, where have you been all my life? Well, not until
Yeah.
so
I mean,
I
they really stepped up with the DVD, and we're good with the extra content and what they call bonus materials. Because I think the original thinking behind let's switch to DVD was they were finding that the VHS tapes were degrading, and getting kind of fuzzy and glitchy and worse and worse. It took years to do, like 15, 20 years for a tape to deteriorate, but it's still, this thing that was supposed to last forever wasn't forever. So they went for a more durable media.
I I honestly, so you probably just gave me a good reason as to why Disney would switch to DVD. I think they may have seen that they must have wanted at the time to have more their classics to be in a more durable format. So, how do you even begin to create at Disney feature animation like an Indiana Jones like adventure movie?
Well, um, it kind of came about because Kirk Wise and Don Hahn and I had already done two movies prior to this, Beauty and the Beast and Hunchback of
Okay,
Notre Dame,
I know.
and Tab Murphy had written Hunchback of Notre Dame with us, so we had all four of us had worked together before, and the feeling was, and Don is the one that articulated this. He said, "You guys, if you want to keep the crew that we built together and became, so so well meshed with, so so familiar with, if you want to keep all of these guys together that you've constructed this dream team with, you're going to have to do another movie, and it would be best if you thought of what you wanted to do before the studio told you what you had to do." So we got together and we put our heads together and said, what do we want to do? What we kind of have done the Broadway musical formula a couple of times, and a lot of the other productions were doing the Broadway musical production, which, to be fair, was successful. I mean, the it was it was a winning combination for Disney, for the studio, but we also were sensing that the certainly the artists within the studio and also the audience, they're kind of getting, they've seen this before, they've seen this formula and this the Broadway musical, they've seen it. What can we do that's a little different? And that's when we thought, well, Disney Studios back in the late 1950s and early 1960s, they were doing those live action ones that Walt Disney was, like, really really jazzed about. So, like, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and Swiss Family Robinson and Island at the Top of the World, and like, kind of Jules Verne action adventure kind of stuff. And we said, what if we could do something like that? And we started to think about Jules Verne and stories like that, and thought, what's a cool story we could do? What are some of those stories that you remember, like, reading as a kid, that really resonated with you? And one of the ones that came up was Journey to the Center of the Earth, which pretty much all of us had read and all of us agreed was a really cool concept, but the actual story wasn't that great. They spent a lot of their time fumbling around in the dark, like total darkness, and then they got to a certain spot. They didn't even get to the center of the earth. They got to a certain spot and said, "All right, this is really scary and weird. We're out of here." And that was the end. And we're like, "Oh, well, okay. What if we actually, we're not going to say center of the earth, but what if we like kind of follow that path, to like we're going deep into the earth and we're looking for something, and that's how the idea of Atlantis came up. It's like, what would you be looking for down there? Atlantis. It's sunk, right? And so that's how that came up. And again, layering that kind of action adventure from the early Disney live action onto that. So it was more Indiana Jones and action adventure than musical. We even made a T-shirt that said that we handed out to the crew that said Walt Disney Pictures presents Atlantis 2001. And on the back it said fewer songs and more explosions. So we
Just
were very upfront saying we're not going to do a musical, we're not doing songs, and we're going to blow stuff up. So
yeah, I've actually seen that in in the movie, and it definitely shows. And so even so that's how it pretty much starts. So I already know about how these things take a little bit just to even make, and
right, right.
so so definitely several I see several cast members pop up that I already know about. We got Michael J. Fox, we got James Garner, we got Chris Summer, we got Leonard Nimoy, we
Mm-hmm.
got Jim Varney, and we got others that
Don Novello.
don't know, uh-huh.
Don Novello. He was a Saturday Night Live comedian. He did Father Guido Sarducci. He was Vinny.
Oh, yeah. So it's like you round up a cast like this. This is like your A-list, new A-list talent about
Right, right.
what here. I had to just do this because in reference to Leonard Nimoy,
But yeah, of course.
and I just knew that as for I cannot mistake the Michael J. Fox voice because it's definitely him, and it's according to him, Parkinson's is definitely the gift that keeps on taking.
Yeah, it's funny. I've watched some like YouTube reaction videos of people watching Atlantis for the first time, and there's a fair amount of people that go, "Who is that? He sounds so familiar." And then when they find out, they go, "Oh, of course, it's Marty McFly. It's Michael J. Fox."
Of course it is. Of course it is. I'm a big fan of B2TF myself.
Yeah,
So yeah, I definitely got that kind of feeling going for it. On the I remember listening. I think this is just the first time I really had like experience with the DVD commentary. Usually I might people might now just go on to like a fan panel or at least archive link, or they might just watch some other unique little documentary on YouTube or a streaming service or something like that, probably but from one of these other guys and YouTubers, content creators, that sort of thing. And what's gonna end up happening is they're you're gonna see some unique details revealed in the extras. I don't know. I just kind of miss
well, like you
the
like you said, the beginning with the Vikings that was deleted.
yeah. I kind of miss. I don't know. Those are kind of days where I feel like I miss those extras. So on the DVD commentary, which I can remember, I watched this thing. And it was like in widescreen. And this is kind of a moment where it was like, what? Wait a second. This movie, I watched like the movie in full screen. And then all of a sudden I watched it in widescreen. I was like, I didn't know there were like two aspect ratios. And I'm like,
Yeah.
somehow I start to find out more and more about this. There's actually more. there's like more movies out there than that
outside.
could
Yeah,
have the widescreen than would be the full screen. But mom
yeah.
didn't know too much about that because she was more used to the 4:3 CRT TV kind of era.
The TV format. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Uh, and on the same commentary, you were pretty much you and I think Cook Wise, you decided to make a little joke. Well, always you made a joke about this one character, the old lady saying, "Okay, this is gonna be the last Disney character is gonna be smoking." But the only reason was one, it says it's 2001, but things are progressing, and
Mhm.
two, you pretty much decide, okay, I this is like an older time period, 1914, is where everyone smoked and drank and this is like 2026. So right now it feels like smoking and drinking is rather unpopular. New York and no, not New York, but New Zealand and the UK probably ain't gonna have any new smokers no more.
Well, I mean, and we had some pushback even at that time, even in 2001. People were saying you can't have her smoke, and we had to argue exactly that. It's like, look, this is 1914, and we're not by any means glamorizing smoking by having this crusty old woman with a cigarette and her gravelly voice, and she's not a glamour queen, with a cigarette on a holder and looking all beautiful and sexy and like, oh, smoking will make me like that. It's like, no, it'll make you look like this instead. So
Oh
we,
yeah.
we weren't we weren't we weren't terribly concerned about that. But yeah, there were people that were like, "Oh, it's smoking. You can't do smoking." So that's why it's probably Don that said, "Yeah, this is the last time you're going to see cigarettes in a Disney film."
This is like I'm part of the millennial crowd, and I was like part of that era where it felt like during the 90s and the 2000s, Disney, along with the help of Pixar, was making out all these hits and then income and then the Gen Z might not have had that same kind of experience the way I did, or at least some of them, but not all of them.
Mhm.
So it's like I still think you might have to hit like you kind of have to like the like one of the characters actually says you kind of have to hit bottom before you go back on top. So it's
Right,
like
right. I think that was Sweet that said that.
yeah, start just yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. You have yeah. On that note, you
yeah.
these guys, they don't you don't mind all these other unique characters from different backgrounds and different cultures. You have Black, Hispanic. You got other French. You got other people from different countries and different nation ethnicities. They're all in there, and it's kind of a you don't even mind. You're not trying to make not really making too much of a hubble blue about it.
We're not like saying, "Look, everybody, this character is Hispanic." Yeah, just let them go. Let them do their role. Let them be their character, and it all it all comes together.
I'm glad they actually glad they actually did that. I kind of miss that again because with Disney because I know these aren't like just Americanized stories of what you call story Americanized version of stories from other countries. To me, they are America. They're what we believe, what we represent. I'm not going to let that go. As a matter of fact, you can imagine how we would feel like the guys in this like the natives in this particular movie if we had our own constitution taken from us. It's like, yeah, yeah, now you know how it bites because yeah, because yeah, well, you can't sell your constitution. You can't. It's too valuable. Constitution is what we believe, like the Bill of Rights, what we were founded on. So you take that away, it's like the big stolen cultural appropriation thing.
Uh,
And I think you were trying to figure out a way to say, hey, this is I don't know, you you probably want to say something about discovery for the sake of knowledge and taking pictures and being like on a little unique vacation versus discovery for profit.
right. That was yeah. That was the conflict.
Uh, sometimes I wonder why sometimes I wonder why you would do that. Like this is like a 2001 lens compared
Uh,
to a 1950s lens. I don't know.
1914. Yeah. I mean, back then. I mean, there were all those artifacts from Egypt and India, and all these places that countries like Great Britain and France and the United States would just like take them, and put them in museums. And these are national treasures to these countries. And people didn't think anything of it. So we wanted to make Milo a little different. He's not in it for the acquisition. He's in it for the knowledge and what can be learned. And that's I mean, the whole company was in it for the money, and he turned most of them to his way of thinking. So that was what we were kind of going for.
I'm glad because he would be pretty unique glad about the fact that we have ourselves like knowledge at our fingertips, and it's like, well, not even stuff we might not have discovered. It's like it's there, but we haven't discovered it. I think you were going for a real steampunk vibe, nearly.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, there was an influence by the Jules Verne steampunk look, but we also wanted to because we did pick the 1914, kind of World War One, pre-World War One era, which we thought was a fascinating time because it was kind of a crossroads of technology where you had airplanes and armored vehicles on one side and mounted cavalry, horsemen and guys with literally with just like bayonets and spears, on the other.
Oh yeah, like
And this
what they
was
have in the
that
Civil
was that
War.
time, when this crash of technologies came about, which we found really interesting, and we thought, why not just lean into that a little more than the steampunk, which we did, with like the submarine and some of the other some of Whitmore's other gadgets and inventions and things. But but yeah, I mean, even like the trucks and the vehicles that drove down to Atlantis, we spent time at literally at the Smithsonian Institution looking at these old vehicles and taking pictures and doing drawings and seeing how they worked, all the weapons and the uniforms and the clothing. We researched it pretty extensively to get that time period down.
Oh. At least it worked. It gives me a certain belief that it would uniquely be in that particular department. This is kind of the first movie that I see where I think of the where I hear about the Leviathan, and I picture this movie's Leviathan over what what people are putting what the Bible says about it, what Job may have thought about it, and apparently I'm thinking if and I'm like in my second annual reading of the Bible, and basically uh God has the analyzer is basically saying on the Bible recap that God has a tendency to um treat the Leviathan like it's a pet because God is the creator of the universe. This is what I believe. So no offense for our regards about what I be believe, and this is so therefore if so for some odd reason it's rather than a dead gum creature that God created, all of a sudden it's like it's a dead gum giant robot in this thing. It's kind of wild. It's like maybe the Atlanteans actually did invent this particular thing. Maybe it's their pet. I don't know.
That was the idea. They made this. Well, they made a number of them, and it was like their war machine. And most of them were destroyed, but maybe one or two survived. And the the legends just grew. People saw it. People witnessed it. You saw the Viking scene. Those guys kind of ran afoul of the Leviathan, and maybe it couldn't fly anymore like it used to, but it could still swim and still mess people up. And that's, yeah. So that was our idea. That's where the legend grew. And the Bible took how many thousands of years to actually write, to get to the version that it is today. So there was a lot of input into that came from different sources.
Well, the Bible was written by multiple people according to multiple people, three
Ah,
continents, multiple authors, thousands of
right,
years,
right.
and I believe it 66 books over the course of 66 books. If you don't if you have a problem with it, I don't want you to take much offense. It's like I watched this film multiple times on the DVD thing, and it's not like I could just it's a different kind of rewind, a different kind of fast forward. It's not like buttery smooth motion like a VHS. It was just completely different. So
Yeah.
it's like a digital bits of data comprised together in a one single versatile disk piece of science. I would love to honestly I am as a matter of fact, I think the way you may have executed this particular film, sometimes, uh, sometimes I think a lot of the people on YouTube may be thinking, yeah, maybe what we've got with some of the new Disney stuff, it's like this this production may have a better way of handling it than what these new Disney stuff could do because it's kind of like nowadays with Disney is like a hit or miss and it's a kind of a mixed bag. It's not like everything is like a knock it out of the park thing of the way the Disney Renaissance and the Pixar Golden Age was.
Well, I mean, to be fair, we weren't exactly a hit
I
when
know.
it opened in 2001. So,
Yeah,
yeah, you know.
but DVD sales, I wish we had that back, but you profit from DVD sales back then, so I can't really bother just can't really say that you that it was a total loss for you guys. You
I
still
went on, yeah, I went on Facebook this morning, just to, as one does, and there was a post by Tab Murphy, and he was commenting on, um, the anniversary of Atlantis, and saying, yeah, it didn't do too well when it first came out, but over the years it's gained a following, and it's almost like a cult following, and the fan base, of like people who were little kids then who couldn't really speak up and defend the movie because they were like 8 years old, and their parents were like, there's not enough songs and there's too many guns, and the kids were like, yeah, but we like it. And so those kids are all grown up now, and that's our new fan base 25 years later. But yeah, we certainly appreciate it, and are very, very thankful for it.
I in the credits I saw that Josh Whedon was one of the writers, as in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Josh Whedon, as
Yeah,
in the guy who
yeah.
directed the Avengers. I'm like, what's he doing here?
Okay, here's the story. Um, and and Joss Whedon will be the first one to tell you that he didn't do a single thing on Atlantis. What happened was he wrote a treatment for Disney development that I think it was like kind of loosely based on the story of the man who would be king. And within that treatment, there was a mention or two of Atlantis. Now, um, when we were like going to like generate the credits for Atlantis: Lost Empire, there's like a team of lawyers that goes over these things, and they found that Joss Whedon had written the word Atlantis in a treatment that was like a year or two before we ever started. He never wrote a word of script for our picture, but they said, you know, he could have a case and he might sue us. So we're just going to give him credit just just to head off any problems that might come in the future. So basically, it was the Disney lawyers being cowardly and chicken, you know, afraid of Joss Whedon's agent who might or might not sue, and they didn't want to fight. They just thought they'd capitulate right away and solve that problem. So that's where that came from. And like I said, Joss Whedon, he's already said, I didn't do anything on that. You know, I'm surprised as anybody to have a credit. So, yeah, but he's
Yeah,
there in the credits.
man, I know he directed that Avengers movie, like the foot, and he also did the Justice League post Zack
Yeah,
Snyder,
I mean,
like
he's a really talented guy, but we were certainly surprised when we saw his name in the credits. We're, what the hell is this? And that's when that was explained to us that, oh, okay, yeah, the lawyers were afraid of his agent suing us for what? Well, because he wrote the word Atlantis once. So
wow.
that's
Ah, that was a great like and at the end of this movie, like you restored they restored Atlantis to a unique, big, wide, amazing, incredible area. And it just looks amazing at that one particular final shot that you've got a thriving Atlantis city. It's almost like I feel like I don't want to. I want Disney to have like a fundamental restoration of them becoming new. I think maybe Milo wanted to be down there so he can actually make the most out of his life too. And that shot, that final shot is just incredible. I mean, it's like full glory and kaboom. You at the final tiles and then credits roll.
that's the one where we're pulling back from Milo and Kita on top of the giant, and you keep pulling back and keep pulling back, and so you see the whole city, and then the hammerhead like goes
Yeah.
right into the screen. Yeah, we we put the big Disney computer to the test on that one because that was a lot of information. I think we may have crashed the computer once or twice doing it.